never resolve that, right? Because we say we counted 10,000 on April 1st, and you say you had 12,000 on April 1st. We'd never be able to resolve that, right? But if you said we have 5,000 housing units additional that are not reflected here, then you have something that's possible, you know, a question resolution issue, and then it goes into that system, and then the system, the Bureau will verify if in fact we counted those housing units or if we didn't. And if we didn't, then what happens is, you know, the town prevails, and then an errata sheet will be done. None of the tables will be changed, but every single table will say there's an errata sheet, and then you look at the errata sheet. You know, and you don't change the tables. People say, why don't you go back and change all the tables? The reality is that then it wouldn't reflect what the census actually counted, and if you really want to keep what the process was, you want to keep what we published, and then what we said was an errata.
So how did you get to this without the percentages?
If you went to the previous page, where it has the 6 tables,
Yeah.
it was P1, and I forget the order, and then P4, and then further down, I think maybe about the 4th table, is quick table, QTPF.
I never got to the 6.
So how you want to get to the 6 is you want to choose 2010 redistricting?
It's like there.
Because otherwise you scroll through all the tables and then
So you start with that P1.
yeah, no, you don't want to do that P1 now, but scroll down and you see
So then if you're reading the page. Yep. I'm still at
Okay.
120.
okay, great. So then go to topics. Come up to topics. Open up data set. And then select 2010 redistricting data. And that's going to literally through the 6 tables. And then choose a QT there. Okay? So those are just little tips, you know, that since I go through the system a lot, anything that makes it faster for me. So that's something I just wanted to share with you. So this is a quick table. And then we said we were going to look for something else. What was the other thing that we said we were going to look for in the exercises on the last page?
By the census tract, block group, and block by address.
By address, great, great. Sometimes I didn't know my census tract until I started working with the census. I didn't even know that we had a census tract, right? So, so now this in the system, you can plug in an address. Okay? I'm going to do that right now. And I'm going to show you how much data you can get on by plugging in an address. So if you move over to the right-hand side, it says enter a street address. Click on that. And then this little gray overlay box is going to come up. So let's just use one common address, and then everybody else can go look at it. So somebody give me an address.
60 Congress Street.
6, okay. You don't need to enter zip code into the district though. So all of a sudden, for this address, you know what block it's in? Block 10009. And actually the one that I had was a little bit different, so I used a 2000 census. Block group, the census tract. You can get congressional district information, the county information, the metro, the MSA area, okay? The new designated New England city and town areas, place. You get to see how much data, and any one of these, if you click onto them, has data behind it. So let's look at the congressional district. like no data has come up. Close this overlay. And then again, you're going to have those tables, so let's do this. So you have the Springfield City, because it still has that one first. You have Springfield City, Hamden County, and then you have the congressional. So you wanted that data. So on any one of those, if you click on, you're going to get data for that specific address. So from one address, you can merge into lots and lots of data. And then what we do is the total population for each, and then we see them, which is always the top line. So now it's your turn. If you, and you can come use my system if you want to be on. Just to go on and look for data that you are interested in, and then if you're having problems navigating, I'd be more than glad to help you navigate through it. You know, and as I said, I don't know if you help people walk through the system, but that's something we do all the time. So if you leave here and get stuck, which I guarantee you're going to leave here and not remember everything that I said, call us. I gave you the number up front, and anyone who answers the phone will be able to help you navigate through it. Okay? And not only for Springfield, you're not restricted to just asking. You can ask for anything that might be on the system. Okay? So you were interested in looking for some specific data, so start thinking about what it is so that I can come and help you. And then any other data. What data would you be interested in looking? Or are you familiar with the system? Not at all. Okay, great. So think about something that you want.
I'm not even sure if we have travel modes or travel data, something related to transportation.
Okay, great. So that's a great question. So before we actually move on to this isn't the new system because we're looking at 2010 data, right? But you want to look at some travel, transportation to and from work and that kind of stuff. So that's not in the new system. Remember, that's ACS, that's in the old system. So we're going to click on U.S. Census Bureau banner up there. It's going to bring us back to the main page. I'm going to click on American Fact Finder. Then I'm going to click on factfinder.census.gov, the legacy system on the right. So now you're on the American Fact Finder, the legacy system page. You're going to move over to data sets. And when it hovers over, you want to select American Community Survey. Because the descendant census there is a 2000 census, and you don't want that. Because you want some current data. So this is what the American Community Survey page looks like, and you saw it up on the screenshots. And you'll see here the different releases. So the first one's the most recent, the 2005-2009 5-year estimate. Right underneath it is the 2007-2009 3-year estimate, and then the 1-year estimate for 2009. Then you go to 2008, the 2006-2008 3-year, and the 2008 1-year. We still don't have a 5-year estimate that'll be coming on later in the year. Right? 2000, then you go down 2000, so you see that all the way down, okay? So what you want to do is for what, so now you want to know what geography. What geography do you?
Springfield.
Let's do Springfield. Yeah. So we know that we're going to get the Springfield in the 2005-2009 5-year. And then you can select, this is where I got the data profiles, and I'll come back, somebody remind me, to come back to show you all of the different data profiles. But you want a detail table. Remember, that's one of the products that was a little detail table. So now the system is starting to think. Okay, so you told it that you want a detail table. Now it's going to ask you what geography. So remember I said that in New England, for a city or a town, you hit county subdivision.
Mhm.
So now the system's gonna ask you in what state.
Massachusetts.
And in what county? So as you can see the system thinking as it's narrowing down, right?
Yeah.
And then what populates in the next box is all of the cities and towns in Camden County.
Mhm.
But for this one, what you want is Springfield.
Yeah.
And on the right, you could map it if you wanted to. There's a great mapping system there, but we don't want to do that. We just want to add it to the shopping cart at the bottom. I call it a shopping cart. Internet shoppers know this. And then you hit next. So the system now knows
Mhm.
the geography and that you want a detailed table. The default is always to show you all the tables. And if you just scroll down the side here, you get to see there's lots of tables up here. So we don't want to do that. So you can go in and select it by subject. And by subject, what we've done, if you click on this drop-down menu, we've put some subjects together
Yeah.
and then tie all the tables to the subjects. So let's look if we have something. Commuting, journey to work.
Yeah.
Let's just look at that. And so we're gonna hit search. So now what the system is gonna do is bring out all the tables. And even by narrowing it down, you get to see that there's still quite a bunch of tables, right? So, what is it exactly that you want to know?
Means of transportation for all the races together. I don't want any racial breakup.
So what I, two or more races, some other races. So there's means of, so it's not only for the general population, but then they tease it out for something. So you see here, means of transportation to work by workers' earnings. So if you, if you didn't know what that is, you'd go over to the right-hand side, you'd click on what's this, and that's gonna give you the shell of the table, which you can then decide, you know what? That's something I want, or that's not what I want. Okay? So rather than selecting it and then having all of the data be pulling up, so. Means of transportation by time leaving home to go to work. So let's just add that. That's BO8132. And then we'll just show results. So you can see, so this is by the time that they leave, okay. And by what they use.
Yep.
Okay. And so what you could do, if that's a piece of data that you're, frequently looking at, is keep clicking on the what's this and becoming familiar with what each of the tables has. Because as I said to you, remember I said, be specific about the data, because there's so much information here. But the what's this is a very useful tool. I want to go back and show you something else. And here, again, you can print a table, download it, manipulate it into an Excel spreadsheet.
Is there an ability to turn any of these tables into like a pie chart or a graph form for other visual?
If you drop it into an Excel, then Excel has that capacity.
Okay.
Right? So the system doesn't have it, but the Excel has the capacity.
All right, thanks.
Nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I wanted to show you how my system is temperamental to this. another, I think, we'll use the first selection, the 2005-2009 American Community Survey 5-year estimates, and let's hit on data profiles. And you have a copy of, I believe it's the social profile that I copied for you. But you can get here goes your data profiles. So it defaults to social, and as you have in your copy, the social has quite a bit of information. But if you weren't interested in the social, you wanted something on income and employment, you could hit the economic one, and it's going to give you an economic profile, which includes things like employment status, people in the workforce, the commuting to work. This is something that we can show her. Occupation, industries that people work in, class of workers, wages, all that kind of stuff. And it also gives you some health insurance coverage information. In this situation, since we chose the 2000-2008, it's only going to show up in the 1-year estimate. So it's not going to show up in this table. Yes, go ahead.
What's a family defined as? Is it any related adults living in a household? Or?
Family, and we, I guess in the glossary of terms we can use that, but family we define as people who are related by blood, adoption.
In the same household?
In the same household.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're counting the household. And so you'll see tables that have family members present, children, and then non-family members like that.
I know it's broken down into families with children, families with, also with children under 18.
Right.
Could I get any narrower than that? Like, could I get any family data for, like 14 to 18-year-olds?
I don't know if it's in that bracket, but we would find that in detail tables. This is just the profile that we just sort of put some broad categories of us. Okay. Yes.
Does family include spouses?
Excuse me?
Does it include spouses?
Yes.
And so does that vary by state? Does that vary by state, the definition?
No, it doesn't vary by state because the federal law does not recognize same-sex households. However, for the first time, we are going to do a tabulation in 2012 that will show same-sex marriages and a tabulation for them. It's never been done before, but it's going to be done in 2012. Prior to that, we couldn't do that because of...
Can I just comment on that?
Yes,
I know
please.
when we were doing when we were working on the complete count committee and doing outreach to people, one piece of feedback that we got on that issue and also on the issue of gender or sex is that we were told by partnership specialists that we could pass along to the public that nobody's going to check. It's anonymous, and so nobody's going to check and verify what it is. So you can state, if you consider yourself married, you can mark that you're married. And same thing with gender, that if you check off whatever gender you consider yourself to be, that's how it would be counted.
Yeah, all of it is self-identification, so people, we don't verify the information.
I don't know how widely known that was.
So we can get your information on detailed data. And then if you wanted some info, remember you were looking for some transportation information on the housing data profile.
Yeah.
There's some transportation information. Not on the housing, on the economic one. Then you could do the same thing for housing, which would give you, what we talked about, how many units are available in the town, the structure, the years the structures were built, how many bedrooms, all that kind of stuff. And then you can go into your demographic profile. And so you get to see that there's lots of profiles already up that have lots of data. So there's a demographic profile that comes up. But for those of you who write grants, so here's the demographic. It's going to give you a breakout by years. Now this is another buckets, but then we have some other data where you can do single years and all that kind of stuff.
Go to demographic tables.
No, this one is in the data profiles. So the data profiles has 4 of them: social, economic, housing, and demographic. And then there's a 5th one which I want to show you. Yes, sir.
So if I'm writing a grant for a community of less than 20,000, can I safely use the 2009 income data, or just because it's an estimate and only showing trends, do I have to wait for the next five year?
No, I would use the most recent data that we have, which would be the 2005-2009, if you're doing it for a community under 20,000. That's the only place you're going to find it.
But I have to use it the way he was saying before. There's a range. The median family income is a range between 20 and 25,000.
Right, exactly. And so, or you can, you can footnote and say, this is the rate, what we've selected within this range. So that just so the reader gets to know what it is that you selected. But the one that I wanted to show you also was the narrative profile. And what the narrative profile has done is taken from each one of the other profiles and put together some text for you, and actually some charts and some bar graphs. And so if you were writing a proposal, you could actually drop this in to your proposal and decide to expand on some of it, delete some of it. So it's, some of thinking about some of the highlights have already been done here. So this is where you would find, on the other side of the fact finder, is where you'd find all of the ACS data. So now is when we want to be able to go in and see what it is that you want to find. So start thinking about what data it is that you want to find, and then I can help you navigate through. So I know that you were interested in something, and so.
Yeah, Turner's Falls, which is one of the little villages of Montague, which is the town.
Okay. And Montague is in
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to geography. So I'm going to choose county subdivision. And it's in Mass, is that right? And what county? So with this one, I'm just going back. What I think I'm going to do is, I'm going to map it out and see what shows up.
Subdivision.
Right.
Montague.
Right.
Data profile. County subdivision.
For our purposes, I want to see what it says. If it does have any identifying on it.
Did that give you a census tract within that?
I want to see what it
Yeah.
is. But you looking at the map, since you know the area, might know what.
I would, yeah, I can tell.
Okay, great.
It's kind of a downtownish area, in a rural area, within a rural area.
That's why I didn't choose map as a rule, because sometimes it takes a while. So are you getting all the data that are you able to toggle on the new system?
Yes.
Okay,
Which,
good.
what I found interesting is that when you went back to the, one thing, because I used to be board and I was very confused, because
Okay.
it's totally different from the
Oh.
former, is that on the top left where you have the geographies or the choices, that search, when you go back to the table, you can choose in that drop-down menu and you can switch between the tables.
Right.
Which I didn't know that before,
Yeah.
so it's, it's a lot easier than I thought it was.
Actually, it's becoming friendlier. You know, so those of us who use the system, when the system first came out, we were
Lost.
we were horrified. It didn't even look like the old system.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was our first complaint, right? So we got over that one. And then we started looking for data, and, you know, it was just like in the quick start box, like if you look population of Springfield, you know, you'd get population, and you'd hit Springfield, and you'd get it for Springfield, Illinois, although you had to put Springfield as the system was just not here. And so we were complaining about that, and then the director of the Census Bureau one day was looking for population of the nation, and he put nation, and he got nation Idaho. And so he said, this doesn't work. He said, we've been saying that for a while. And we got fixed the next day. The programmers were in there, forget it, right? Well, there were some things that they had like in, actually equaled Indiana. And so for us, it's population, you know, in something, we're looking for in that what we said, right? So that in changed, and OR. So we said that or this we're looking for. The OR was actually talking to Oregon. And so those little